The cafeteria of the Naval Academy was alive with noise, boots thudding, trays clattering, laughter echoing off the steel walls. It was late afternoon, the kind of heat that made tempers rise and discipline waver. Cadets lounged in groups, their voices rising with the careless arrogance of youth who believed the world still owed them a war to prove themselves. At one of the corner tables sat a woman, quietly eating her meal. Her uniform was standard issue, clean but unadorned. No medals, no rank pins, no reason for anyone to look twice. She was maybe in her late 30s, calm eyes, composed posture, the kind of presence that carried quiet authority. But in that room, nobody noticed. To them, she was just another logistics officer passing through. A group of young officers entered, led by Captain Harris, a tall, broad man whose swagger filled the space before he did. The Academy's golden boy, decorated, charming, and utterly convinced that the chain of command bent wherever he smiled. He dropped his tray down beside her with a loud clatter. "Well, look who's sitting in the officers' section," he said, his tone laced with amusement. "You lost, ma'am, or just testing how the real Navy eats." A few of his men laughed. She didn't. "I'm fine where I am," she said quietly, continuing to eat. He leaned closer, mock curiosity in his voice. "Didn't catch your name. Logistics, right, or cafeteria duty?" Her fork paused for a second, then resumed. "Just visiting," she said simply. "Visiting." Harris smirked. "Well, that's something new. We don't get many visitors sitting in the officers' section without invitation." His men chuckled again. The sound was sharp and ugly. Another officer nudged him. "Come on, Cap, let it go." But Harris wasn't the kind to let anything go, not when there was an audience. He picked up his can of Coke, shook it lightly, the fizz building beneath the aluminum. "You sure you're fine where you are?" he said with mock gentleness. "Because from where I'm sitting, you look a little too dry for Navy life." Before anyone could react, he tipped the can and poured it slowly over her head. The liquid cascaded down her hair, her uniform, dripping off her collar and onto the floor. The table went dead silent. Harris laughed. "There, now you look like one of us." No one else joined him. She sat still for a moment, composed, unreadable. Then she reached for a napkin, dabbed her face calmly, and looked up at him with eyes that had seen more than any of them could imagine. "Are you done, Captain?" she asked softly. The tone steady, unflinching, made his laughter falter. Something in her voice carried weight, quiet and deadly. "Hey, relax," he said, forcing a grin. "It was just a joke." She stood, straightening her soaked jacket. "A joke," she repeated, her voice even lower now. "You must think very highly of yourself, Captain." Then she walked past him. Her boots made no sound, but the silence she left behind was deafening. 30 minutes later, a call echoed through the Academy PA system. "All officers to briefing room Alpha. Immediate assembly." The mess hall emptied in seconds. Harris adjusted his jacket, still grinning. Guess the old man's got something to yell about. Inside the briefing room, the air was sharp with tension. Every ranking officer in the facility stood at attention. At the front podium, the Academy commander waited, his jaw tight, eyes locked on the door. When it opened, the woman from the cafeteria walked in, her uniform replaced by a crisp, white one, adorned with ribbons and medals. On her shoulders gleamed 2 silver stars. Every man in the room stiffened. The commander straightened. "Admiral Ross, the floor is yours." Harris's smile died. She stepped forward, the air around her shifting. "Good afternoon," she said calmly. "Before we begin the inspection tour, I'd like to address something that happened in your cafeteria not long ago." She turned her gaze slowly across the room until it landed squarely on Harris. "Captain Harris," she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Step forward." He did, stiffly, eyes wide. "Ma'am Admiral, I—" Silence, she said. The word wasn't shouted. "It didn't have to be. You poured a drink on a fellow officer," she continued without provocation. "You mocked her. You disrespected your uniform, your rank, and this institution." He swallowed hard. "Ma'am, I didn't know. That's the point," she said. "You didn't ask, you assumed." The room was so quiet that the hum of the lights above seemed deafening. She stepped closer, eyes locked on his. "You see, Captain, arrogance blinds faster than fear. You thought rank made you untouchable. It doesn't. Respect does." She let the silence sink in. "And you've shown none." She turned to the commander. "Effective immediately, Captain Harris is relieved of duty pending review. His conduct will be forwarded to Fleet Command." Harris's face drained of color. "Ma'am, please," dismissed. 2MP stepped forward. He started to protest, but stopped when he saw her expression, not angry, not gloating. Just disappointed. As they led him out, she looked back at the assembled officers. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," she said quietly. "I came to remind you that leadership is not permission. It's responsibility. And the day you forget that, whether you're a captain or an admiral, you've already lost your honor." Later, in her private quarters, she removed her jacket and set it neatly on the chair. A knock came at the door. "It was the academy commander, ma'am," he said carefully. "I must apologize for—" She raised a hand. "No need. I've seen worse. This isn't about a drink. It's about what kind of culture we're raising." He nodded, uneasy. "If I may ask, why didn't you reveal yourself earlier?" She smiled faintly. "Because people show who they are when they think no one's watching." He paused, then nodded again. "Permission to speak freely, ma'am. Granted. That speech you gave, I think you just changed the tone of this entire command." She looked out the window, where the ocean stretched endless and calm. "Then maybe," she said softly, "it was worth a little spilled Coke." The next morning, word had spread through every corridor, every division. No one spoke of Captain Harris anymore. They spoke of the woman who'd sat quietly in the mess hall, endured humiliation without flinching, and turned it into a lesson every cadet would remember for the rest of their careers. That afternoon, a cadet in the cafeteria spilled his tray. When another laughed, he stopped himself. "Hey," he said quietly, "show some respect. You never know who's watching." And far above them, in her office overlooking the docks, Admiral Maya Ross allowed herself the smallest of smiles. "Because true power doesn't shout. It simply stands tall and lets the world correct itself."